Welcome to Built to Win, the podcast created to help you level up your business game by developing a success mindset made for the long run. In this episode, Neora's Dave Fleming talks with Platinum National Marketing Director 𝘮𝘮𝘳 about how changing her mindset opened the door to a career she never knew was possible. Jennifer shares the critical role mindset played in building her business and talks about how teaching and practicing compassion helped shape her as a leader. And she also gives sound advice for anyone looking to unlock true success in the year ahead.
Thank you, Jennifer, for jumping on and being our guest today. I'm excited for this interview. And for those that are just getting to know you, tell us about yourself and just give us some of the background before we dive into some of the other things we're going to talk about today.
Of course. Hi, everybody. I am excited to be on here today, honored to be on here, truly, to get to talk to everybody. I will say, who I am. That's such a deep question, but on the surface, I'm a mother. I have 3 children, 19, 14, and 12. I am a nurse by trade or by, I guess, training. Educationally, I'm a nurse, and also, of course, a wife, a friend, a daughter, all those things. And professionally now, I am obviously the Platinum National Marketing Director in Neora, which I know is a foreign terminology to a lot of people. So essentially, in a nutshell, that means I've helped a lot of people hit a lot of goals. I think that's the best way to describe it. And that is what I do now as my career endeavor, you could say. Oh, and I'm from Kentucky. We'll go ahead and put that out there now so no one is guessing what my accent is. We'll just square it away. But I am from Louisville, Kentucky. So this is the biggest city in Kentucky, but still, yes.
Louisville, Kentucky. So for all of those who are listening, Louisville is the correct pronunciation of Louisville, Kentucky. That is
almost correct.
Almost correct. The most correct. Yes.
The most correct. Yes.
The most correct. And not to put you on the spot, but like you said, I'm going to let you brag about yourself for a second because you said you helped a lot of people, help do a lot of great things. Just to put it in perspective, like how many people are on your team, ballpark, and also how long have you been doing this with Neora?
So I've been doing this for 11 years. It was 11 years in September, and I will be very transparent and tell you that I don't pay attention to how many people are on our team. I just work with the team. So, I mean, thousands, of course, but I don't know specifically because that's just not something that I pay attention to a lot. I pay more attention to who it is and what we're doing versus the quantity, I guess. But thousands of people that have been, have joined the company over the course of the last 11 years, and all the, people that joined with me, and then the people that they brought in, and then you think of 11 years worth of that ripple effect. So lots of people, obviously, in total, and even more that have, maybe come and gone throughout the years over the course of time as well. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. There are always people coming and always people going, and that's just kind of part of the business that we're in. 11 years is a long time. And one of the things that I love about you and your leadership is that you care a lot about the people on your team, and it shows through in like everything that you do as a team. Your team kind of adopted that as a culture and kind of a personality of your team, which I think is also pretty great. And I wonder, was that something that has always been part of you? Like before you were doing Neora, what were you doing? And like, tell us how you got here.
So it is funny because I think a lot about things like, how did I end up here? This was not what I said I wanted to do when I was a little girl. I actually wanted to be a doctor, but then in my mind, I wanted to be a mom more. So I was like, well, then I'll be a nurse because that way I won't have to wait until I'm out of all these years of school. Like that's what my little brain thought when I was young. So I chose to become a nurse because I've always wanted to take care of people. So I don't think it's like, I don't think it's by accident that I ended up not necessarily in this space, but in this space with this company, because in my opinion, the company is designed for you to be rewarded for caring about people. And so it kind of is in alignment with what I did previous to coming here. So I was teaching nursing my background's in pediatric oncology nursing. So that takes a lot of caring about people because you get very attached. Your patients are there for a long time. Their families are there for a long time. So career-wise, I was already integrated in a way that I was already caring a lot about people, staying connected to those people outside of even the hospital, still speak to patients' parents to this day that are no longer living, but I became very close to their parents along their, health crisis really, and the tragedies in their lives. So I was already that way. And then I transitioned that into teaching. So I was teaching, when I was introduced to Neora, I was teaching nursing in a college. So I taught pediatric nursing, of course, and ironically, I taught leadership in nursing, which there are no accidents. I don't know why I was chosen for that class, but I was. And then when it was sort of like a natural progression into this, because I didn't start doing this with the intention of it being a business. I really didn't. So I can't say that I came into it being like, this is it. This is going to be the thing that I'm going to be able to care about people in. It wasn't that. It was just natural for me to care about people. And then the way that Neora is designed, the more people you help and care about, the more income you make. And so it was kind of like a perfect little place for me to be, but it wasn't something I was, that I actually consciously think about. It's more just how I behave as a human being already. And then I just transferred it into this kind of model, I guess.
Yeah, that is fascinating, because I'm hearing a couple of things as you're talking through this. One is kind of your innate nature to care about those around you, help you succeed in this business, but then also your professional training was kind of tailor-made to help teach other people how to succeed in this business as well. If you were to say, was either one more important to your success than the other? Was it the training more important and being able to teach others how to do something? Or was it that innate kind of caring nature? Or maybe it's 50-50. I'm just curious what you think.
No, I would actually say the training probably didn't really play a role. I would say it was more the innate nature of who I was. Clearly, I wanted to just be a mom. That's what I wanted. I was like, I just want to be a mom, which is already clearly wanting to take care of people. But more that plus experience. So interestingly, we had to write a paper when I was getting my master's in nursing. We had to write a paper on whether or not you could teach compassion. And it was very intriguing to me because I'd never considered it before. Like, oh, how do people become compassionate? Is it taught? Is it modeled in the home? Is it, just the way you're born? And I do think it's a combination of a lot of those things. But what I found is over time, you can teach compassion and you do that. I'm going to get real cheesy, but you do that through love. Like if you love people, if no one's ever experienced love, they have a very difficult time loving other people sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And when you give love or care or whatever that is, however that looks in action to people, I think it starts to train them that, oh, there are people who care, or there is a kind way to be. And so you do it, I guess, by modeling in a way and teaching, but more through action. And I found that in my student population, teaching was very difficult for me because I didn't realize I was a little bit naive and thought everyone went into nursing because they wanted to take care of everybody. And that was not true of my student population. Some of them, of course, yes, that was true. But a lot of them were like, I'd be like, me in my first day, like, why did you want to be a nurse? And they're like, it's a good, stable career. We have a good pay rate. I was like, it was like my heart shattered knowing that not everyone wanted to just take care of people. But through that experience, I got to watch people who maybe didn't have a lot of compassion, maybe because of their life circumstances or whatever, get to learn by my example how you can show other people compassion. So I don't know how I just went on that tangent, but
I'm really interested in this, because I'm on the edge of my seat. Like, can we learn compassion? Like, now I want to know.
Oh, yes, I think we can. And I think that in the beginning of transitioning into Neora as more of I guess you could say a career, because that wasn't ever the intention, but it was the natural progression of it. One of the hardest parts of it was I was considering, nursing was part of my identity. Like being a nurse was part of my identity. And I was like, wait, what happens? And then now it's still a part of my identity. Like it is why I am who I am. A lot of it, the experiences with other human beings, or, the things I've witnessed or gone through or had to help other people with. So I found that basically I figured out a way to still be a nurse in Neora. That's the best way I can say it, where I can still give of myself, of my energy, of my mind, of my heart, I guess, to other people in a way that helps them in a different way, but also somewhat in a similar way, because it's still giving love, really, in essence, to someone that makes them feel seen, heard, valued, worthy, something that then enables them to do something else. So in the nursing world, it enables them to be able to maybe function or, live. In your world, clearly it's not that serious, but it is, because if you can change the way someone believes about themselves or sees themselves or the world or other people, you really can change the way their future looks. That's how I believe anyway. So it was kind of a beautiful little marriage that took me a second to figure out, like, why am I here? Why am I doing? How did I end up here? And being able to then make that what I wanted to make of it, because it is an entrepreneurial endeavor. I wasn't working under a boss. So I could say that doesn't feel right to me, or that doesn't feel good to me. I'm not going to do it that way. And I do think I was intentional about wanting a team that did things the right way. I wanted a group of people who did care about their integrity as much as I cared about mine. I wanted to build a team that felt like I was protecting their integrity and not ever encouraging them or asking them to do something that could put that in jeopardy. And I think over time, that was almost just a little bit like, it was sort of similar to the compassion, where it was modeled and then exemplified on repeat. And that just kind of then became the culture of the team.
That is beautiful. I love that. And thank you for answering that question, by the way, because my background was originally, I graduated with a degree in psychology and then went into business. So I understand like where you're coming from in terms of like the, modeling behavior, and, and there's constantly this nature versus nurture debate in psychology. And so like talking through that for me was like super interesting. And so hopefully our listeners feel the same way, but I think that shows, because what you have done, and people who don't know you, people who don't know your team won't necessarily know this, but your team embodies that. Like they have clearly taken that and internalized that. And you can tell the people who are on your team, the way they talk, the way they do things is similar to the way you talk about the business, the way you've done things. And I think that's super cool. I think that's awesome.
That's really cool to hear, actually, because I've never really heard that perspective, because most of the people I talk to are on my team.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah. So you're not comparing it to like what
Yes.
else is out there. Not to say that people on other teams aren't doing it the right way or anything like that, but it's like, but every team has its own kind of personality, if you will. And so like the way you're talking about the business and the way you're describing it, like you could describe your team the same ways. And I think that's awesome. You mentioned something as you were talking through this, like kind of like the progression of things. And you originally, when you looked at this, and we're talking about Neora specifically, when you originally looked at this, you weren't looking at it as a business. Like you said, you hadn't put this on your to-do list as like being an entrepreneur and launching a direct selling, a social selling business. What changed? And was it a moment, or do you remember when that changed?
I do. Well, what's interesting is it was about the most unlikely time to add anything else to my plate as well. Like I'm not even kidding that I had gone to my doctor and I'm like, I don't know if I can do life. Like I was doing so many things. I was still teaching, and I taught full time, but I taught days, nights, and online. So it was like, really, that makes you pretty much a 24-hour a day worker, because you have to work with your online students when you're at home, for the most part. And then I was also creating a whole online, they were creating an RN online program. So a lot of effort had to go into that. Plus I had enrolled to get my master's, because that was the only way I knew how to make more money. That's the truth. And I thought, well, it would further give me the opportunity to further my career if I did that. And it would give me, I think it was like a $4,000 a year raise. So I was full-time teaching, full-time student. I'm getting my master's. And when I enrolled to get my master's, I then found out I was pregnant. So when I was doing all of that and introduced to Neora, my baby was 9 months old, but I was still like nursing her. Like it was very engaging. And then I had a just turned 3-year-old and an 8-year-old. All of those things were happening when Neora was introduced into my life. And I'm also going to pull a different side of me into this, but I really believe, I know what my prayers were every night. I was a very anxious human being. I was terrified that I wasn't going to be able to give my children the life I thought they deserved. And so I was always under that mindset of like, well, how do I give them that life? I work harder. How do I do? I work harder. I find another way. I do, like, that was just my personality. So although I wasn't seeking this, I think I was just in a different way. And I think it was put in my path and I happened to notice it. I mean, I really believe that. I think that's how it works a lot of times. And you don't always notice what was put in your path for you. But I happened to notice it. I didn't notice it in the right way, of course, at first. I just noticed the product. So I did come into it. I never called it a business. I didn't even know that that's really what anyone called it. I simply knew that I loved the product and I was going to use it. So it was more of a logical side of my brain of like, okay, well, you're going to pay for this if you are a customer. As a brand partner, you have the potential to not pay for this. So that just seemed logical. And then I never even considered the fact that if you were doing that, you were also getting paid. Like, that wasn't even in my brain. I was just thinking, how do I use this and not pay for it? Because I'm a mom and I'm over here trying to make more money for my kids, not take away from them. So I remember the first email that came that said I got paid. And I was like, wait, what? Oh, okay. I'm also going to get paid for this. It was so like perplexing because I was just so unfamiliar with this world at all in any way, shape, or form. And then it was actually my husband who, I'm going to joke because he's going to hear this and he'll laugh too, but he always was finding ways for me to make more money. He'd be like, I really think that you should go back and be a doctor. I'm like, I really think that you should go do something else.
Yeah,
So,
you go be a doctor.
Yeah. So he was like, I really think you should pay attention to this. Like, this feels like this could be something. So it really was him kind of, I guess, almost refocusing me back to the potential of what this could be. But still, I wasn't intentionally like building a business still. I wasn't. I simply was being myself, which is very honest. And then people would then be like, well, I don't understand why I would do this and you get paid. Why wouldn't I do this? And I could earn my own free products. I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe you should, And I remember even getting really concerned when my customers were becoming brand partners. And I'm like, oh, I'm losing all my customers. And I remember my husband was like, I actually think that might be good if they're becoming brand partners. Like, that's how like I was not attached to the business part of it at all. So it was actually a natural, organic growth of people who saw either believed in me or believed in the product and joined me because of that. Like, it wasn't like I was out saying I have this goal and I'm going to go crush it. It just was a natural progression. And then I think because I was so busy and I am admittedly a high performer, it was like, oh, this would be the next thing to do. Okay, I'll just go do that. But it wasn't like a super conscious thing that I was saying or doing. It was really a natural, organic progression of things.
And you can tell the way that you're talking about the things that you've done in your life, your career, and as a parent, as a wife, of like all of that, like that you can just tell that you are looking to do the very best that you can in all of those situations. And there's a lot of pressure, especially on moms. There's a lot of pressure to perform all of those different responsibilities. And so it's really interesting to me how you're talking about like this kind of naturally came to be. If you were to look back, would you be able to tell like what were the things that made you successful in this business? Because you built a really big, successful business.
Yes. I also think about that a lot because, we always want there to be like the button that I can just hand someone and be like, just
Right.
press this one and you're going to shoot right to wherever you're trying to go. But in reality, it is work. I mean, it's effort, I guess I should say. I think for a long time, I didn't quite recognize the effort because it was so different than nursing effort. I mean, nursing effort is intense, heavy, hardcore, life or death, it's very different. So it seemed so simple to me, but in reality, there was still effort. But it was, if I had to say, it would be the consistency piece, because I was always consistent. Like, even if I had 5 minutes, I would always give it a little bit every day. I didn't spend hours a day by any means, really, ever building the business. It was maybe at times, but routinely, it was a small amount of time every day. So the consistency piece, but really it was how much work I did on my thoughts and the thoughts around everything I was doing. I never thought I wasn't going to succeed. It had nothing to do with like arrogance or ego. It was really stupidity. It was a lack of knowledge that what I was doing was success. Like I didn't even realize that. It was more like, okay, I'll do that. Okay, yes, I'm gonna do that. So there was like an innate belief that I would. And that is actually what I would say fueled me to do the little things every day, because I always just believed I'll get there. And it's funny, this is probably not another tangent, but I was thinking about this earlier and thinking about what I just said there. And in the moment of all of the mindset work that I was doing, because I had no experience with personal development. Like when I heard the terms personal development, I'd be like, oh no, I think I'm okay. I thought that was like for people who were like falling off the deep end. I don't know. I just didn't know what I didn't know. And so because Neora is, in my opinion, a natural, also like a simultaneous personal development company, that started changing me from the beginning, right? So the things and all the little cliche one-liners that I thought were so cliche, what you start to learn is, oh, they're actually true, which is why they're one-liners, right? So when I started realizing I actually lived or operated through all those like principles of what you expect you're going to get back in life form. You know, if you think you will, or if you, whether you think you will or you think you won't, you'll be right. Like all those little things were true. And from the beginning, I never thought I wouldn't. I always expected to get whatever someone told me was next that I could have. And I think the combination of the consistency with that mindset is how I ended up where I ended up. And it's how I was able to lead other people, because I really do have a deep, deep, true belief that other people are capable of the same thing I'm capable of. I have a deep, true belief that this opportunity is one for anyone if they're willing to work for it and put in the time. Like those are things I deeply believe. And I think that that comes through to people when I'm engaging with them or leading or whatever it may be. And truly how I was able to maintain the same level of belief and focus and consistency, no matter what was happening in my life, really.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was there somebody kind of helping you along the way, kind of telling you what to do to be successful, or did you kind of intuitively just pick up on what you had to do?
I mean, of course there is training. So you hear training about systems and things, but I will also tell you that I was very we could call me stubborn. I'm not sure what a positive word would be for it, but I have strong beliefs and of whatever it is I believe. And they don't waver for other humans. So for me, if you could tell me to do anything and say this will make you successful, but if I didn't like it or if I didn't think that was the right thing to do, I wasn't going to do it. So I
Mm.
think that it was partial training because I had to learn just some conceptual things about sales and things. I mean, I've never done that, but also it was the intuition of knowing just people. And I would say that that same thing was how I operated in business. So similar to how you're like, how many people are on your team? And I'm like, I don't know. That was sort of how I've always operated. It was more like reciprocative energy. So I'm going to try to build energy amongst people in my words and actions, but also I can almost like naturally find where the energy is and then help that grow. And so what that means is, what I'm trying to say is I don't spend a lot of time in the places a lot of people spend a lot of time in, which is like the places that would be like, by definition, where you're maybe don't have what you want, or so, because by design that shifts you into like a loss mindset almost, because you're almost engulfing yourself in this like place that isn't really the reality, but it skews your perception. So somehow, because I can't say I intentionally did this, I was drawn to energy. So I worked with people who also, when you're working in that way, it gives back to you. And I think that's how I was able to stay fueled, as you could say, through all the things I was doing, but also building this at the same time. I think it was because I naturally was drawn to the energy of the team. And I would help fuel the energy of a team instead of trying to take two sticks and start a fire, which I never learned how to do. Right? Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I love that because it's if you're in the business and you're familiar with this business, and I've been in and out of this business for almost 25 years now. And so like what you just explained about the energy and following the energy and feeding the fire, that is such an integral part of success in this business. And so like for you to just explain that to people, our listeners, I think that's really super insightful, super valuable as well. I want to talk about the business itself for a little bit and talk about like the ups and the downs and, starting
There are
with
not ups and downs. What are you talking about?
sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. In fact, for this entire Built to Win podcast series, yes, if there's anything you've learned, there's only ups, only ups. I wish. But in your business, like what is the favorite part about what you do?
Ooh, my favorite part is still helping people find belief and worthiness in themselves. So for myself, I think people sometimes have this false narrative that I am by design a confident person. I've never been confident, actually. And everyone who knows me very well knows that, and it's annoying to them. And because I don't believe in myself and I don't like all of those. I really haven't. Now, at the same time, like I said, I was a high performer. So I also I guess I did in a way believe in myself, but I didn't recognize that. So for me, it's also, I would say, what brings me the most joy is also what can bring me the most sadness in the business, because finding how many people genuinely do not believe they are worthy or capable of great things is so sad to me. Like, it literally breaks my soul as a human that this many people walk around truly thinking that they can't have things, or that they're not worthy or deserving or capable, or that I don't know. And in reality, I probably recognize it in people because it lives in me, right?
Mm.
But to be able to have that aha moment with someone where they get it, like, I am worthy and capable and I can do these things, and knowing that the plan's always there, right? But if they don't think that they're going to do it, the plan really doesn't work. So seeing that aha moment in people when they start to believe in themselves and recognize, like, oh my gosh, I actually did something and this is amazing, and I can be accomplished, and I can still be a mom, and that can still be my priority while I build this really possible legacy for the future of my family generations to come, is really fun for me. I love the people side of it. Like, I love helping people. Also, in a way, I guess you could share that same truth for my personal business and my customers. Like, I love being able to introduce them to our products because they've helped me so much. So I have this deep knowing that it will also help other people. So that brings me a lot of joy. So, it's never like a number type of thing for me that makes me excited. It's always a human component, which is
Yeah.
probably, I'm sure it sometimes can be a little bit like, I've heard anyways, that it can almost feel like I'm living in a fantasy world, because I'm always looking for these moments of growth and beauty. But that's how I live my life, because I really believe what you look for, you'll find. And so I look for it in people and try to find their gift or something that I think is special about them, so that they can grasp onto my belief in them until they can start believing in themselves. So that's my favorite part, is helping people find their own worthiness almost, or capability inside of them.
I love that. That's fantastic. Kind of goes back to learning, teaching, compassion. Like
Yeah.
you can help other people learn that skill, which is great. I love that. And I do love that about this business. Like as I mentioned, been in this for almost 25 years, and seeing people reach new heights or explore or expand their own potential is I love that as well. I think that's one of the greatest, if not the greatest part about being in this business. But
And the
looking,
fun part too about that I was thinking about, even if, yes, you seek the energy, you pour fuel on those fires, but at the same time, I feel like the people who maybe don't have that energy are still valued, and they still feel valued, and they actually do still have value in our business, even if they don't like produce or something. And I don't think that's true everywhere. So even our compensation plan here creates a culture where people can feel valued and worthy, unattached to performance, which I think is important just as a human being, to help people be able to not feel less than by being a part of our business, right? So it's almost like every part of it has a way to propel people, regardless of where they may be on a monetary journey.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, yeah, I really like the way that you said that is that, yeah, it's not just about performance. You can
Right.
perform, you can not perform. It's up to you what you want to do with the business. But no matter what, you matter here and there's a home for you here. And that's to me is just as important as the numbers,
Right.
probably more important. Sounds like you agree.
And it's like
Um,
to me, it's preceding numbers, right? The more people that
yeah.
feel that way, the more likely you are to get results because they're thinking about everything in a different way too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like you build the culture that you want and then the results kind of come from the culture that you've
Right.
built. And yeah, totally agree with that. Totally agree. Well, taking a look through the Jennifer Givens future lens. What are you looking forward to this coming year? What do you have, what kind of goals, what kind of objectives are you looking to achieve?
So I was funny. I was just talking with someone about this last week because, it's not a secret that we went through our great, glorious time with the government.
Yeah.
And, first of all, I believe that I was being prepared for that when I came here in the beginning, right? Because I didn't, who I am as like on a soul level is the same. Who I am here and what goes on between my two ears and the thoughts I have and the way I view life, people, the future, all of those things are very, very different than who I was when I came here. I was actually very negative. I was always focused on what I wouldn't have, what we would never, like I was stuck in that loop. And I worked the hardest of all on getting myself out of that and retraining my brain to think a different way to where now I still do it every day. Like you can't help what thought comes into your mind, right? But I now it's a natural thing if a bad thought, or I shouldn't say bad because that's an attachment, but I'm just saying a thought that doesn't really serve me. If that comes into my mind, I naturally now already work through it all before I ever even realized I had the thought. But because I put so much effort into changing the way I thought about everything, myself, the world, the business, the future, what's possible, I now can recognize it in someone else like that and help them work through how to switch those thoughts so that they can better serve them. Because really, that's all you're in control of at the end of the day in this type of business is how you are thinking about whatever situation you're in. So, funny enough, I feel like that first however many years of like my personal growth journey, you could call it, was to prepare me for the moment in time that we would be in that phase. Because, what I've something I never thought about until someone said it to me was, how did you stay here during that? Like, why? And I said, well, I had a knowing. I don't know how else to say that. I had a knowing and a belief that it was all going to be okay. And that is how I operated. That's actually how I operate all the time, every day, it's all going to be okay. It's all going to work out. It's all going to whatever. And when you're thinking in that way, you act differently. And so I think because that was truly a deep belief of mine that I knew we had done the right things. I believed so strongly in the integrity of the company and the people leading the company that I really strongly believed it was all going to work out, despite what anyone else said, despite that doesn't, it kind of goes back to what I said in the beginning. When I have a belief, it's not shakeable by someone else's opinion. Like that doesn't shake me. So for me, I felt that it was all going to be okay. So I was able to lead in that knowing. And because it was a true belief of mine, then it was very authentic to everyone else. And I think it helped keep them leading through it, right? The best way I can describe it is like we are free now. We are free to be who we've always intended to be as a company, to make the impact that we've always intended to make. Yes, in the industry, because it's a positive impact on the industry, but I think that Neora was created to impact the world. I really do. I think that was part of its inception and its intention from the beginning. And it just has been like, a roller coaster to try to get to the point that we can finally just be who we were designed to be as a company, which was a company that makes a global impact to make people better. And being able to know that I'm already here and positioned in this company that I think is truly going to make an impact to make the world better. I just do. I have my vision now is watching all of the people that we are going to bring along with us to positively impact their lives, but then the giant ripple that will, the same way the business is built on a ripple, the same thing is going to be true of the impact of the business. So as an overarching thing, my vision and goal for 2025 is massive expansion, just so we can create massive impact. That's really how I see it. So more people here. I mean, in a nutshell, I want more people here helping more people. From a personal standpoint, I would like to personally advance my business in a way of helping more people. Like I don't know if it's a great thing, but I don't make like a rank goal for myself. I never have. I've always made a goal of how many people do I want to help do XYZ. So I want more six-figure earners. I want more car earners. I want more new people coming in and winning. I want more people saying, I got to create this experience for my family because of the income I was able to generate through Neora. I want more people to say, your products helped me because of XYZ. Like, I want the bigger impact. And I really truly feel and believe that we are free to do that now, and that will be what we will see as a result of that freedom in 2025.
That's awesome. And I agree, by the way.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I do. I think yes. And we've talked about this on this podcast before, but like, yes, the ups and downs, all of it, we've been through a ton of stuff, and that usually means that we're poised and ready for the next chapter. And usually there's growth before that next expansion of success. Like there has to be. Like, you have to be a better person. And what you're talking about, I think that fits right into that. Like, you have to be better than you were, or not better, but you have to go through some stuff in order to get to that next level. And I think that's awesome.
I was told a quote the other day that friction is an invitation for growth. And I'm like, isn't it ever? But truly, anytime there's friction, that's hard, right? It always feels from a life earth perspective hard. But typically that is an invitation for growth, and whatever hard you go through is always way worth it on the other side. And I think that has been proven through Neora as well in a similar way. Yeah.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And really, kind of in a nutshell, that's what this podcast is all about. So
right.
Thanks for bringing that full circle. But last question for you. We'll get on and let you get back on to building your incredible business. But what advice would you give somebody who is just starting out this journey and looking at this and going, I don't know if I can do this, or I don't know if this is the right thing? What would you tell somebody?
So I would tell you first to really look at the company that you're looking to be a part of, because I think it's really, people are good at marketing. They're good at marketing. We're in this culture that's fast, shiny objects. I'm going to look this way. This is prettier. This is whatever. So really kind of creating a standard of discernment in yourself of, what do you want? Like, what do you want? What are you wanting to get from this? And what do you want that to be like? What kind of experience do you want? Because I believe that when you're focused on what you want, again, things will be put into your pathway that will be in alignment with that. But if you're not sure what you're wanting and you're just saying, I want to join a company, or this person looks fun, so I might want to go with them, like, really center back onto yourself and in alignment with what you would want as an experience as a result, so that maybe you will be more in alignment with companies that are presented in your pathway. And then once they're there, some more discernment about the information that's being told, because everyone can say a lot of words. And I said this the other day to someone else. To me, my experience, I love words. I can write a lot of them. I can really say a lot of them. But in reality, over the course of this life of mine, words are great, but I need actions. Like, that is in every facet of my life. I need actions to prove your words. Otherwise, your words don't matter to me. That is just the truth. And Neora, in my experience, that is the example of who they are. It is action after action after action that always backs up the words. So when you're looking at that, from looking at companies, have some discernment, use your intuition. It's there for a reason. That little feeling in your stomach, if it's saying no, probably means no. Or is it just fear? And that is something that only you can know, but most people have fear of failure. And I just challenge you to flip your what if. Most people, especially in our, American culture, are always looking at what can go wrong. What if I don't make it? What if I fail? What if nobody likes me? What if nobody wants this? What if no one? And I simply challenge you to say, well, what if they don't? What if it does work? What if they do like it? What if someone does want to do this? And at the end of the day, don't overthink it, because at least here, I can't speak for other companies, but here there isn't a risk in trying. Now I can't, I don't know what's true of everywhere. So I guess that I can't make that a blanket statement for what you're looking to do. But overall, don't overthink it and let your mind get in the way of something that could be the thing that was put into your path because of what you were praying in your nighttime prayers, right? So really having an open mind. I wouldn't say I was the most open-minded person when I first was introduced to this, but really thinking outside the box of what your life could look like and how something like this could contribute to your life. I also think people look at how things can be taken away from you instead of looking at how could it add. Like, even if you never made a sale, let's just say, but what if you became a better version of yourself that changed the way you spoke to your children and changed the way that your life looks because of what you're attracting and who you're attracting to your life? Wouldn't that be worth it? Like, so kind of getting outside the box of what would success look like and just be open to the possibility that it could make a positive impact on your life while using discernment on factual data as well, of course. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. That is, yeah, you covered a lot of bases there, but I think every single one of those is really important too. So that's awesome. Jennifer, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
Great conversation. And for our listeners, thanks for tuning in. We're going to be doing more of these. Can't wait for you to join us next time on Built to Win.
Thanks.
That was Dave Fleming talking with Jennifer Givens about the role of mindset in success. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if you learned something from it, please share it with a friend or colleague who you think would also benefit. And if you're new to Built to Win, we invite you to go back and listen to our story from the beginning. You can find us wherever you download your favorite podcasts. And while you're there, please rate us and leave a review to let us know what you think of the show.